The British royal family has been rocked by a new earthquake, and this time Queen Camilla's son is right at the epicenter. Shocking revelations indicate that Tom Parker B.S. engaged in a tense, high-stakes confrontation with Princess Anne in full view of reporters and rolling cameras. But the real bombshell came only after Prince William blew his top, demanding a deep-dive investigation into the encounter to defend his aunt. One critical detail immediately shifted the narrative. Tom was granted access to a restricted area less than 48 hours before the event. While a series of standard security protocols were inexplicably bypassed, what initially appeared to be a fleeting loss of composure on camera is now suspected of being the tip of an iceberg. A power struggle involving money, royal assets, and a highly influential figure operating behind Tom. What evidence did William unearth that prompted him to immediately raise the internal royal alarm? And who secretly cleared the path for Tom, setting Camilla's son up for a scandal that could shatter both his standing and his career? The dazzling light from the high-powered lamp array combined with the relentless flash of camera lenses transformed the grand hall of the historic estate into a stage with no exit. At this aristocratic charity event held on a quiet evening, attention should have belonged to contributions for the community. But that atmosphere of elegance was swiftly shattered by an explosive incident sending a shockwave through every corridor of power within Buckingham Palace. At the center of every eye was Princess Anne. As the only sister of King Charles III, she had long been viewed as the absolute symbol of devotion and iron discipline within the British royal family. Even having crossed into her 70s, she maintained one of the densest schedules of public duties in the entire clan, always appearing with her traditional hay-on, immaculately unwrinkled attire, and a composure so calm it bordered on frigid. Her presence embodied steadfastness and unyielding standard that had never wavered before any media storm. Standing opposite her was Tom Parker B.S., Queen Camilla's son from her previous marriage. A well-known food writer and critic for major publications, Tom was no stranger to media lenses, yet he had always maintained a careful distance from formal court etiquette. However, following the historic coronation of King Charles III and Queen Camilla in May 2023, the status of Tom and his immediate family had undergone delicate yet deeply sensitive shifts within the royal hierarchy. The conflict erupted when Tom stepped forward, deliberately blocking Princess Anne's path in the central area surrounded by gathered reporters. Instead of observing the basic decorum expected of a guest, he approached with a tense expression and began firing off aggressive, direct questions. His words, brimming with dissatisfaction, revolved around the use of properties and assets under royal management for private commercial schemes, a topic that had always been a sensitive taboo among court members. The sudden clash caused polite smiles around the room to instantly vanish, replaced by the stunned disbelief of distinguished guests and the frantic shuddering of reporters seizing upon the breaking scandal. Faced with mounting pressure and the increasingly harsh tone from the Queen's son, Princess Anne did not flinch. Her gaze remained as cold as ice, her gloved hand lightly tightening around her small handbag while her back stayed perfectly straight. She refused to be drawn into the argument, offering neither explanation nor heated retort. Anne's majestic silence stood like a solid stone wall, refusing to allow an official engagement to be turned into a stage for family drama. She merely tilted her head slightly, delivering a serene yet profoundly stern look before slowly stepping past him, as though that sharp interrogation had never even occurred. The royal princess's nonchalant demeanor only highlighted Tom's loss of composure before the array of press cameras. Video footage of the scene spread at breakneck speed, rapidly becoming the defining headline across news outlets and social media. For senior communications officials at Buckingham, this was no mere spontaneous exchange of words. It was a grave PR crisis that threatened to undermine the authority of the new reign. As the press began dissecting every gesture and every glance of those involved, news of the incident reached Prince William, the Prince of Wales. As heir to the throne and a man driven by a fierce resolve to protect the integrity and pristine reputation of the monarchy, William was consumed by absolute fury upon receiving a detailed account of this overstepping of boundaries. An undercurrent storm began to brew behind the heavy wooden doors of Buckingham Palace, promising a rigorous investigation and fiery decisions to come. The news of the public confrontation at the charity event reached Kensington Palace like a spark tossed into a powder keg. When the media advisors presented the video footage capturing Tom Parker BS interrogating Princess Anne, the atmosphere inside the Prince of Wales's study seemed to freeze instantly. William stood leaning against his desk, arms crossed over his chest, his eyes narrowed as he tracked every movement on the screen. His jaw set hard, the clearest sign of the storm gathering behind a forced composure. To him, the audacity of a non-working figure like Tom confronting and putting direct pressure on a senior royal in full view of the press was intolerable, a grave insult to the order and discipline of the court. Without delay, William summoned an emergency meeting with security officials and key advisors. Inside the closed briefing room, where the air hung heavy with tension, a clear divide emerged through conflicting viewpoints. A few seasoned communications advisors were quick to advocate a diplomatic approach aimed at diffusing the situation. They feared that escalating the matter would only invite public scrutiny into the already delicate dynamic between Queen Camilla's private family branch and the core royal members. Overreacting risked igniting a full-blown media scandal, dismantling the image of unity the new reign had worked so tirelessly to cultivate. These advisors recommended handling the affair quietly, treating it as a brief, spontaneous family friction best resolved behind closed doors. William, however, flatly rejected these appeasing arguments. He refused to view the incident through the lens of a mere personal dispute or a temporary PR hiccup. Instead, he saw it as a critical security breach and a direct threat to royal protocol. Bringing his hand down hard on the antique wooden desk, he issued an unyielding command: immediately launch a comprehensive, thorough audit of all security protocols and ascertain exactly how Tom had gained entry into the restricted zone reserved exclusively for senior royals. The immediate review of the records uncovered a bombshell revelation that transformed William's fury into deep suspicion. Tom's access rights to the VIP-only area, along with his special credentials, were nowhere to be found on the pre-approved list under standard procedures. His entire clearance had been rushed through less than 48 hours prior to the event. Far more alarming was the fact that a series of mandatory security checks and routine access verification steps had been inexplicably bypassed, as though an unseen hand of power had intervened to clear his path. Staring at the detailed report and its astonishingly coincidental timeline, William fell into deep thought. The rapid sequence of events made it glaringly obvious that this was no impulsive or random act on Tom's part. The flawless orchestration, from the swiftly issued security pass to the precise selection of a time and location teeming with reporters, painted a drastically different picture. In the mind of the heir to the throne, a major suspicion solidified the heated clash with Princess Anne was very likely a meticulously staged script from the very start. The suspicion of a staged plot impelled William to instruct his senior aides to dig deeper into the recent financial and legal activities surrounding the Queen's son and his family. The air in his study hung heavy with tension as a stream of confidential files, contracts, and internal memoranda were brought to light. The further they probed into the documents, the clearer and more concerning the full picture behind the public confrontation became. The initial clues pointed to Tom Parker BS having quietly pushed forward a large-scale venture under his personal brand in the luxury culinary sector. To maximize the commercial value and global appeal of the project, he required a solid foothold within the royal heritage. Investigative files revealed that Tom had repeatedly submitted applications requesting commercial exploitation rights for several long-standing farms, workshops, and agricultural produce brands tied to the royal estates. Blending the venerable prestige of the monarchy with private enterprise promised to yield immense profits while elevating Tom's standing in the business world to unprecedented heights. However, Tom's path toward that ambition swiftly ran aground when it struck an unyielding stone wall. Princess Anne, in her capacity overseeing and managing numerous royal property funds and patronages. Anne had steadfastly rejected these proposals from the earliest rounds of internal discussions. The resolute princess firmly upheld the core principle that the crown's assets, prestige, and image were a national legacy strictly off-limits to serving personal business interests or private commercialization. Her outright principled letters of refusal completely extinguished all of Tom's attempts to pursue the matter through proper channels. The true flashpoint of the investigation arrived when William turned to internal memoranda marked with high-level security clearances. He uncovered that following his repeated failures with Princess Anne, Camilla had secretly intervened. The Queen had leveraged her personal influence and standing to exert pressure on the property management boards, quietly initiating back-channel negotiations to pave the way for her son to access and secure commercial rights to royal assets. Camilla's covert backing not only allowed Tom to bypass a gauntlet of stringent regulations, but inadvertently ignited a fierce, silent war right within the palace walls. Sitting before the undeniable evidence, William felt a surge of fury mixed with bitterness. The link between the underground property disputes and the public clash in front of the cameras stood entirely exposed. This was no simple act of impulse or a lapse in self-control. It was the direct consequence of a plot to weaponize media pressure to break Princess Anne's resolve and force the monarchy to capitulate to personal gains. The clues surrounding business interests and Queen Camilla's behind-the-scenes intervention impelled the Prince of Wales to expand the scope of the review to the entire preparation process preceding the charity event. Every timeline, every movement itinerary and guest list was placed under the microscope of his trusted security team. William personally sat through hours of surveillance footage and access log entries. He meticulously analyzed the smallest details to reconstruct an authentic picture of what had transpired before the clash erupted in front of the media lenses. The results of the data analysis brought forth utterly astounding discoveries. Internal access records revealed that Tom Parker BS had been in possession of Princess Anne's minute-by-minute schedule days in advance. He knew precisely when the princess would enter the Grand Hall, the designated movement route for VIP guests, and most crucially, the exact location where the press corps would be most densely gathered. This information belonged to a restricted internal classification distributed exclusively to direct event participants and close protection and security detail. Pure coincidence was completely ruled out before William lay a cold, meticulously calculated plan. Tom's sudden appearance in the very corner with the best lighting at the exact moment photographers were focusing their lenses on Princess Anne was a prearranged move. He deliberately escalated the atmosphere to a high tension, employing probing interrogations to provoke a sharp reaction from William's aunt. Every action and gesture from Tom's unnaturally aggressive demeanor to his harsh words targeted a single objective, turning an internal disagreement into a public scandal right before the eyes of the realm. The motive behind this reckless gamble emerged stripped bare under William's scrutiny. By intentionally manufacturing a loud media confrontation, Tom sought to corner the royal family and Princess Anne in particular. He forced the court into a stark choice: either face a drawn-out PR crisis splashed across the front pages, or quietly capitulate by approving the commercial deals involving royal assets to smooth things over. It was a sophisticated media blackmail tactic leveraging public pressure to crush the steadfast asset management principles that Anne had upheld for decades. Confronted with the full scope of that elaborate plot, William's hands clenched into fists, his knuckles turning white, the indignation within him crystallized into a cold, hard resolve. This conduct no longer remained a mere family conflict or an individual's lapse in restraint. It had officially crossed the line into a calculated assault on the credibility and dignity of the throne. William understood that if the monarchy chose to yield or compromise in silence, this time a dangerous precedent would clear the path for further exploitation, collapsing the very foundation of discipline the clan had painstakingly built over generations. The atmosphere inside King Charles III's private study deep within Buckingham Palace sank into a heavy, oppressive silence. The late afternoon sunlight filtered dimly through tall, arched glass windows, casting long, shadowy beams across the crimson velvet-walled surfaces, antique mahogany furnishings, and gilded frames of ancient royal portraits. Prince William entered the room with measured, deliberate steps, carrying a thick leather folder containing the full, unvarnished results of the independent investigation into the incident. With the calm, formidable, and unyielding demeanor fitting the heir to the throne, he slowly laid out each detailed report, extracted schedule logs, bank records, and confidential internal memoranda onto the polished surface of the massive oak desk. He consciously refrained from making emotional accusations or relying on fiery rhetoric. Instead, letting the cold, precise timelines, the unusual approval signatures from high-level offices, and the drafted commercial transaction documents speak their stark and undeniable truth. Standing before the king and a select handful of the palace's most trusted senior advisors, William proceeded to detail the true alarming nature of the entire affair step by step. He He painted a comprehensive and chilling picture of the media pressure plot orchestrated by Tom Parker B.S., exposing how the behind-the-scenes maneuverings had leveraged deliberate cracks in institutional authority to attempt a quiet usurpation of lucrative royal assets. Throughout the prince's methodical presentation, King Charles's expression shifted slowly from sheer shock and dismay to a profound visible anguish. As a devoted husband, a protective father, and the reigning monarch, the king found himself trapped in a fierce, agonizing inner conflict. On one side lay deep family affection, the fragile peace of his private life, and an intense desire to shield Queen Camilla and her immediate family from damaging public tempests. On the other stood the heavy centuries-old burden of the crown, the preservation of court discipline, and the strict absolute integrity required of the British monarchy. A sharp, heated division instantly erupted among the senior advisors gathered within the closed room. Those responsible for the court's overarching media strategy and public relations pleaded fervently with the king to choose a peaceful, understated resolution. They put forward a proposal for a discreet, off-their-ord internal negotiation, suggesting that the palace smother the scandal by issuing carefully worded, reassuring public statements while quietly settling the underlying asset disputes behind tightly closed doors. In their strategic estimation, taking any public or drastic punitive measure against the Queen's son would inevitably ignite wild speculation and malicious press rumors regarding a fundamental dynastic rift, thereby directly shattering the carefully crafted image of stability and unity that the new reign had been laboring so tirelessly to build since the coronation. William, however, held an entirely opposing position and stood his ground with absolute, uncompromising firmness. He flatly rejected every single argument favoring compromise, sweep-under-the-rug tactics, or public relations maneuvering. The Prince of Wales fixed his piercing gaze directly on the assembled advisors, his voice echoing with quiet authority as he asserted that deliberately exploiting royal influence for private financial gain and shamelessly deploying media pressure to ambush a working senior royal actively fulfilling state obligations was a treasonous act that had crossed an irrevocable red line. He forcefully emphasized to his father that making concessions or attempting a cover-up in this instance would not be seen as wise diplomatic discretion, but rather as the cowardly indulgence of corruption, an act that would directly undermine court discipline and irrevocably destroy public trust in the monarchy's moral integrity. The sheer determination, unshakable logic, and formidable presence of his eldest son delivered a decisive, crushing blow to King Charles's agonizing hesitation. After minutes of tense, drawn-out reflection, during which no one in the room dared to speak, the king slowly rose from his chair and walked quietly toward the tall window overlooking the manicured palace grounds below. His arms hung loosely at his sides, his broad shoulders slumping visibly under the overwhelming emotional weight of a historic family and constitutional decision. In that quiet moment, personal affection and domestic allegiance ultimately surrendered to the absolute unyielding duty of a reigning sovereign. Turning back slowly to face the quieted room, King Charles offered a single somber nod, officially validating and approving William's decisive stance. Within hours, a top-secret internal royal decree was formally drafted by the king's private secretaries, poised to execute swift administrative retribution and strip away every remaining privileged security clearance and access pass that Tom Parker B.S. had ever enjoyed within the royal domain. The top-secret internal decree descended like an invisible yet razor-sharp blade, systematically severing every privileged connection, hidden influence, and administrative loophole that Tom Parker B.S. had quietly accumulated over the years. In keeping with the Crown's ancient preference for discreet execution, there were no dramatic press conferences called, no official communiques pinned to the iron gates of Buckingham Palace, and no sensational press leaks fed to the tabloid-hungry media. Instead, the entire punitive process was executed in absolute administrative silence, carried out through internal security databases and official protocols with a devastating, unyielding thoroughness that left no room for appeal or negotiation. The full weight of this silent retribution struck the following morning when Tom arrived at the high-profile venue of a major ceremonial cultural event in central London. Dressed impeccably and expecting his usual swift entry, he tapped his high-level royal access pass against the electronic scanner at the primary VIP security checkpoint, only for the red indicator light to flash brightly with a dull, denying tone. In that brief, baffling moment of confusion, senior officers from the Royal Security Detail, seasoned personnel who knew his face well and had previously greeted him with polite deference and respectful nods, stepped forward with icy, unmoving professionalism. In measured, quiet tones, they informed him that his credentials had been permanently revoked and requested that he immediately step back and vacate the restricted perimeter. Every special clearance granting him access to royal residences, every priority transit permit. His placement on guest lists for upcoming national state occasions, and even his access to palace escort services had been completely purged overnight. Tom's name was systematically erased from the Central Security Database, reserved for the royal family's trusted inner circle, effectively sealing the heavy doors to the corridors of power he had once so freely traversed, leaving him stranded on the outside without a single opening left to exploit. The catastrophic fallout from this silent banishment rippled outward with brutal speed, triggering a destructive chain reaction across Tom's professional career and private commercial ventures. Major international investors and corporate partners involved in his ambitious luxury culinary project. Wealthy figures who had aligned themselves with him specifically to bask in the prestige and soft power of the Queen's son swiftly detected the cold, abrupt shift in the court's posture toward him. Within days, ongoing commercial negotiations ground to a complete standstill. Lucrative endorsement deals vanished, and potential venture capital funding was quietly withdrawn without a single formal explanation. Without the ability to associate his brand with royal estates, historic properties, or official state engagements, the grand commercial value Tom had spent months orchestrating dissolved overnight, leaving him facing staggering financial liabilities and irreparable reputational damage. A suffocating blend of shock, embarrassment, and total helplessness overwhelmed him as the harsh reality set in his sophisticated scheme to weaponize media pressure against the court had backfired spectacularly, failing to wring a single concession from the monarchy while utterly destroying the very status and privileges he had sought to leverage. Meanwhile, behind the ancient stone walls where the subterranean storm had raged and settled, Princess Anne maintained her trademark posture of absolute, unbothered composure. She displayed no hint of victory, betraying neither a smug's glance nor a petty gesture of vindication over the swift downfall of her step-nephew. That very morning, precisely on schedule, her official vehicle arrived at a modest social welfare facility in the working-class suburbs of outer London, adhering strictly to a public calendar that had been mapped out months prior. Stepping out into the crisp air, wearing understated attire, a polite, measured smile, and her posture as rigid and upright as ever, the Princess Royal carried out her duties with singular, unwavering focus. To a veteran of public service like Anne, the high-tension clash on the red carpet and the decisive retribution handed down behind closed doors were nothing more than brief, insignificant ripples in a decades-long ocean of duty and devotion to the realm. She brushed past the entire scandal as though it had never even taken place, allowing her quiet, unshakable work ethic to deliver a masterclass in the enduring values and dignity of the crown. The high-stakes internal crisis thus drew to a final permanent close without ever exploding into a sensational headline across the front pages of the international press. The news cycle moved on, and public attention quickly drifted to newer, shinier stories, blissfully unaware of the constitutional friction that had transpired behind the scenes. Yet within the private sanctums of Buckingham and Kensington Palaces, an uncompromising standard of royal discipline had been firmly re-established with quiet, ruthless precision. Gazing hollowly through the tinted window of his car as it navigated the congested streets of London, Tom looked back one last time at the grand, distant facade of Buckingham Palace, receding into the gray skyline. Without a public announcement, without a shouting match, and without a word of public debate, he understood with painful clarity that the line had been drawn, and the heavy doors guarding the heart of royal power had officially and permanently closed against him. After finishing this story, do you believe the quiet yet devastating punishment handed down to Tom Parker BS by King Charles III and Prince William was a well-deserved consequence, or was it overly cruel toward a family member? In a sea of videos. I am so glad YouTube managed to bring this one to you. We pour a tremendous amount of care into researching every single detail of these royal histories. I know using a TV remote takes a little extra time, but your likes and subscriptions are the ultimate motivation for our team to keep creating careful, high-quality stories for your screen. Thank you so much for your support.